Hey, Gail Beskid from BRG Real Estate. As you can see, we got Florida over here, over my shoulder again, checking in to make sure that everything is going well. So I want to do another quick video about, and this is basically for buyers because it's amazing, and I think everybody feels the same way, that you consider your job so easy, but when you go and talk to other people, people have absolutely no idea what you do. So I think real estate is a prime example for that, because 99% of the people I talk to have absolutely no idea what we do, what our processes are, what their responsibilities are as a client, what my responsibilities are in serving them as their real estate agent. So I want to go through the buying side of things really quick. And again, I will make this quick because nobody likes a long video. So when I meet buyers, and most times there are people who are referred to me by previous clients, and that's almost 100% of our business at this point. So we're at a very blessed point in our business that we're able to work with really good people. And so when I meet people, we go through a little pre-qualification, buyer orientation, kind of let the buyers know what the process is. A lot of it is how we're going to set up the showings, and again, most frequently on what the goals are of the buyer. So does the buyer want something that is a fixer-upper, or wants something that's done, new construction, whatever the different things are. So we go through the buyer orientation, deciding all that, and we set that up mostly to make sure that your time isn't wasted as a buyer. You don't want to go and look at 400 houses, unless you do, and if you do, that's fine too, but most people don't want to do that and take all that time out of their schedule to do that. So we kind of come up with a concise list about the type of houses that the buyers are interested in. We do a pre-qualifications, make sure that buyers are put together with a good lender. I've got a couple really good lenders that I refer people to, and those lenders are, again, very efficient people, make the process as easy as possible, and make sure you have a pre-qualification. I've had a couple different situations where we were working on a pre-approval, pre-qualification while we were looking at houses, and we lost out on the houses because they do go quick, and other people were prepared and ready to go, and if you're not ready to go ahead of time, you're going to lose houses. So it's always good to get that done ahead of time, have it in your hand before we go and start looking. So go and check out houses. We typically do anywhere between 1 and 10 at a time, depending on your schedule, how many family members are going, and how much time you want to spend. And my thought has always been, I've been in the buyer situation. I would never want anybody to push me to buy something that I didn't want. I can imagine my husband's viewpoint if that ever happens. So I would never do that, and I think I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about that I'm not the type of person that pushes people to make decisions. If you want to look for houses for 3 years, we'll look for houses for 3 years. You don't want to do that. But if you did, that would be perfectly fine, because you have to know that you've made the right decision and that you're comfortable with your decision, and my job is to give you as much information as you need to make sure you understand the process. So we go look at houses, eventually go under contract. There are situations in this market that there are multiple offers, so my philosophy has always been that the minute a house comes on the market, if it's something you're interested in, we go look at right away, so we can be the first offer in, and that way we don't have competition with a bunch of other offers and that type of thing. So it's always good to get in there right away if that's at all possible. So go into contract with the house, and at that time there's always negotiating. We always put in an offer, and at that time they're going to counteroffer. Chances are we're going to counteroffer them. So it's usually a 3-step process, but it's been known to be more or less. So every situation is a little bit different. And once we go into contract, in most cases, and all of these points are negotiable, but in most cases it's a 3-day time period before your escrow deposit will go into the title company. You give that escrow deposit to the title company, and it's typically a wire, and that's your promise to show up to the closing. So that money is held by the title company, and it's credited to you at the time of closing. So it's in the plus column on the settlement statement. That happens in the first 3 days, and then you're working on your financing at that time. You usually have 5 days to sign all the loan documents, which is different than your pre-approval, and your lender will walk you through that. And then there's a negotiable item on inspection time, and that's usually between 5 and 15 days, depending on how complex that is, if there's if there's septic, if there's a lot of land or something. That every situation is a little bit different, but we usually between 7 and 10 days we get the inspections done. again, as an experienced long-term real estate agent, I've got referrals for inspectors, contractors, handymen, electricians, air conditioning people, cleaning people, home warranty companies. We have all of that. So we go through the inspection process. Everything is an as-is contract, almost always in Tampa now, but I'd say probably 95% of the time is an as-is contract. So when you're putting in an offer, you're putting in that offer based on what the house looked like at the time that you had seen it prior to putting the offer in. So there may be surprises, and if so, then we can kind of deal with those afterwards. But again, we look at the house in detail to make sure we know what we're putting an offer in for. So during that inspection period, you do have the opportunity to walk away at any time because it is an as-is contract. Those 10 days or whatever days of inspection is your due diligence period. So during that time, you can walk away at any time and get your escrow deposit back. Once the inspection period is over, we do a release of the inspection, just a document that says that you're fine with the house. The inspection contingency is released, and then the appraisal is ordered. And then when the appraisal comes back, then most of the buyer's responsibilities are done, and we move on to the next stage. Now, during this time, you have the joy of doing all of your financing during this time too. So again, working with a good lender that you get along with well, who's responsive and takes good care of you is really important. At the end of that 30-day time period, we close. And the day of closing, you do get your keys as of that day. You'll wire whatever funds are necessary to the title company, whatever amount that you're putting down the day before, because wiring can take somewhere between 20 minutes and 24 hours. So you kind of get that in ahead of time so that we're not sitting at the closing table waiting for your money to show up and you can't get your keys and you've got moving vans sitting in the driveway. So again, most important thing, don't make any plans until we know for certain we've closed. Very difficult to do. I'd say 95% or so of the homes close as they should, but every once in a while you run into a wrinkle, and I just hate for anybody to have those moving vans sitting in the driveway. So, but we can get all of that worked out when we sit down and have nice long conversations about what your plans are. So if you have any questions at all, any questions about the buying process, you'd like some houses sent to you, go through the orientation process and go through this a little bit more detail and probably a lot slower, give me a call. I can be reached at 813-833-9136. You can also go to my website at www.galesellsnewtampa.com. Hope you have a great day.